Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to cover the basics of a map. As a data structure, what attributes does it have and where it is used, what can you do while using it, so on and so forth. So C++ standard library gives you a lot of different data structures for different use cases, right? It gives you maps, unordered and ordered, right? It gives you sets, again the same categories, ordered and unordered, and then it gives you a lot of other things as well. It gives you the stack data structure, built-in data structure, it gives you a queue, it gives you a priority queue, it gives you a deck, so on and so forth. So in this particular session we are going to be covering the basics of a map. Now one place where it is heavily utilized is in memoization, when you basically write a recursive logic and when you want to save or when you want to cache different states of your recursive logic, right? We are going to cover three main things. We're going to cover what basically is a map. That's going to be actually point number 0. What is a map? Then we are going to see how we can create it in a C++ file. We are going to see how we can store different values inside of it, and then we are going to see how we can access those values that are already stored inside a map. Say, and then again you could either print all the values that are there inside a map, or you would want to see any specific value that is there inside the map, right? What is a map, right? Map is nothing but a simple data structure, a very simple data structure, and what it does is it basically stores key value pairs. Now what do I mean by key value pairs, right? For example, a student who's studying in Fast University, each and every student, for example me, for example you, we have one ID which is associated with ourselves, right? For example, my ID is 3951, your ID could be 1234, right? Now for example, if someone wants to write a code wherein they could store every ID against every person's name, they can do it through a map, isn't it? Where the key is actually going to be what? The ID. Because why am I saying that, by the way? Why can't the name be key? Because the key needs to be a unique identifier, isn't it? It needs to be different for each and every individual in the university. So that's the key. The same concept we study in databases as well, right? Primary key. The primary key can't repeat, isn't it? If it does, it's going to mess up our table. So the same condition holds over here as well. The key needs to be unique. So we'll use ID as a unique key, and the value, key value, the value can be the name of the student. So 3951 would be me, 1234 could be you, isn't it? There could be different types of map. The map which I have over here is, it stores a string against an integer, so it's going to be int comma string. Make sense? If you want to store a number against another number, that's going to be int comma int, and then you can play with it. If it can be a map of a string against a pair as well, wherein inside of that pair you have two integers. It can be anything, right? But for now we are going to talk about a basic integer comma integer mapping, wherein you have one integer as the key, another integer as the value. One thing which you should keep in mind is that the keys are unique, and we are going to talk about this in later as well in the video. All right. Now, how do we create a map? I just told you. The very first step which you're going to do in order to create an empty map, what you're going to write is this. You're just going to say map of int comma int, and then you're going to give it a certain name. Usually the standard practice is we say it as MP. For example, if you're creating a set, for example, if you're creating an unordered set, so you can say the type as int, and then we usually give it the name of st. Similarly, if you're, for example, creating a stack, we say that's a stack of integer, you give it a name of stk. You can give it any name. What I'm really trying to tell you over here is that there are some standard practices which you can use, and since there is standard, you won't have to think about what the name of your data structure is going to be. You're using a map, give it the name MP. You're using a tag, give it the name of STK, so on and so forth. As soon as you write this line, what happens is an empty map gets created. Empty map. Right now it's empty. It has an integer comma integer mapping. Your key is also an integer, your value is also an integer. Now we're done with point number one, how to create a map. Now how can I store different values inside that map? What I want to do is, maybe for example, against 3951 I want to store 10, and against 1234 I want to store 20. How can I do that? What I'm going to do is, I'm going to, MP is the name of my map, right? I'm going to say MP of key. MP of key is equals to value. So for like MP of 3951 is going to be 10. Similarly, MP of 1234 is going to be 20. These two lines are going to store these two different values inside my map. Now, one thing which I told you, a map only stores unique keys, right? So for example, if in the third line I say MP of 3951 is equals to 1, then it's not going to create another entry like this. No, the key needs to be unique. The key needs to be unique. So what's going to happen is, it's going to overwrite, it's going to update the existing key. All right, thing is, if the key doesn't exist in the map for the first time, you write it. If it does, you update it. For the second time, if I'm for example using the same key, then this is going to be an update operation, not another write operation. This initially was a write operation. All right, I hope that makes sense. How can we store values inside that map, and then again how to access the values which are stored inside a map, right? Let's see that inside our code. So what I'll do is, I will store 1 2 3 against 1 2 3 4 I'm going to store 10. Against MP of 3951 I'm going to store 100. Then I'll just copy and paste this line, and I'll say it needs to be for example 1200. Now what I'm trying to do is how to access the values inside the map, right? How can I access the values which are stored inside the map? One very simple way is, if you want to see one specific value which is there inside the map, you do this. You just say, I want to see the value which is stored against this particular key, which is stored against the key which is 3951. You say that, and that's it. For example, if I now run this code, let's see what output it gives me. It's probably going to give me 1200, right, and not 100. Why not 100? Because it actually sort of, oh, it went and it overwrite that value. Now for example, if I want to see all the values which are there inside the map, all the right now inside the map I have two unique keys, right? 1234 and 3951. Maybe let's add another one over here, and let's do something unique. Actually, I'll just say this. What happens if I just say MP of 1? Thing is, by default, if you don't specify the value, by default the map is going to assign it a value of 0. All right, let's see that. Let's try to print the map, all the values inside the map. How that works is, you're going to say for auto row. Row again is it's just a variable name. All right, inside the map. So what this logic is going to do is, it's going to iterate over every row inside the map. Just keep in mind, row is not a keyword, it's just a variable. I could have written ABC over here. All right, it's just a variable. What I'm going to do is, the only thing which I now need to do is print the key. So sort of print the key followed by some gap, and then print the value, isn't it? You first print the key, then you print the value. So I'm going to, question is, how can I access the key inside the map? I'm going to say row dot first followed by some space, row dot second, change line. Now what does this mean? This means, this is my map, right? This is the first row. Just print out row dot first followed by row dot second, change line. So it's going to print 3951, the key, the value, change line. It prints out row dot first, the key, followed by some space, and then the value. isn't it? That's what is happening over here. So if I run this code, let's see what output do we get, right? So against the, now since again I used a map, if this was an unordered map, then the values wouldn't have been sorted. What a map does is it sorts the key values in ascending order. But if I use an unordered map, the name itself suggests what's the difference between a map and an unordered map. Unordered map does no sorting. All right. So wait, what's wrong? I used an unordered map. Maybe I was too quick to press the run button. Why is it giving me one at the top? Oh, it's sort of what it's doing is it sort of goes upward. So the value which I store at the very last point is going to be shown to me uh, as the first values. For example, if I went and I said MP of 2 is equals to 3, then since this is the last value which I'm storing, it's going to show me this particular value at the top. So it's going to be 2 1 3 9 5 1 and then 1 2 3 4. All right, that's how a map works. All right, so yeah, let's see if we have covered all the points. How to create a map, we have covered that. You can create a lot of variety of maps. You can create a string comma int map, you can create a int comma string map, you can do a lot of things, int comma string, so on and so forth. How to create a map, we have covered that. How to store values inside that map, we have covered that as well. And then how to access the values stored, we have covered that as well. If I want to see all the values, use a for loop. If I want to see a specific value, then did we cover the specific value? I think we did, right? If you want to see any specific value, just do this, mp of whatever the key is, for example 3, isn't it? So I hope the video was helpful for you, and I'll see you next time.